Greetings. I am Shakan Dugu Kemet. We are dealing with a PhD holding little homie with some funny claims. Here he's trying to use Dr. Shekontadi up to his advantage. So let's deal with what's written on the screen. It says the God Il, i.e. Allah. Notice it says Il, I-L. And it doesn't say Allah period in bracket. It says i.e. Allah. We are told the only triad which was worshipped was that of Venus, Sun, Moon. Prayers were offered to the sun. Invocations were made directly to the 7 planets. So I'm wondering, what kind of Islam is that? Islam with a triad, the sun, the moon, Venus, prayers being offered to the sun, invocation made to the planets. Moving right along. Here we have another slide, and it says the Arabs of the time of ignorance used to do things which the Sharia has adopted. They used to make pilgrimage to the house, the Kaaba. Now, in Sahih Bukhari we are told the Prophet entered Mecca, and at that time there were 360 idols around the Kaaba. And once again, I mentioned that before. We are told yes, they used to walk around the Kaaba, circumnavigate the Kaaba even before the time of Prophet Muhammad. But you need to look at this because some people claim some pre-Quranic Islam or pre-Muhammad Islam. So what Islam is that? Islam with 360 idols in the Kaaba. And speaking of 360, it reminds me of the Bact Agreement, which says, according to this quote there, the Bact was both a non-aggression pact and a trade agreement between Muslim Egypt and Nubia, terms which were determined by the victors, Nubia. 360 slaves annually sent by Nubia to Egypt. So the victor agrees to send 360 slaves to Egypt. Moving right on. Right here it says, all the elements necessary to the birth of Islam were thus present more than 1,000 years before the birth of Muhammad, and Islam appears as a purging of Babylonian Sabaism by God's messenger. Now, Elijah Muhammad in The Fall of America, page 121, he said, the rise of ancient Babylon, with her persecution of the righteous among her and with her hatred of the Jews and their religion, Babylon was brought to naught. So this is so much for that Babylonian Sabaism. He also said, in ancient times, Babylon under the king Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar was the great city of idol worship and evil. She was the queen of evil. So there you go with your Babylonian Sabaism. He also said Babylon could have been healed but was not, for her wickedness was such that she had neither healed nor forgiven. Now, Sabaism, from the Hebrew Sabbath, Lord, from which God is called Zebaoth, Lord of the heavenly host, because the stars or powers of heaven are called the hosts of God, that religion which worships the heavenly bodies, especially the sun and moon. So, Lilo Homie says that basically the Islam of Muhammad is a purification of Babylonian Sabaism. But here we are told that Sabaism is the worship of heavenly bodies, especially the sun and the moon. So basically we are to understand that Islam, the Islam of Muhammad, is a purification of the worship of the sun and the moon. Real strange to me, but you know, you always have groupies to clap for that. It says there, and it's just an observation, but it's not really so much a critic. It talks about purity, and it says Herodotus reported that priests wash themselves twice a day in cold water and twice again at night, because he's trying to make the parallel between washing 4 times and the same in Islam. But I just want to make an observation that Herodotus died around 400 BCE, before the Common Era. That's 200 years after the indigenous Africans ruled. So this is for the people who pay attention. Chronology is extremely important. Now that doesn't mean that at that time there was still no black priests, or there was, but we have to deal with caution when we're talking about the time period after the indigenous African rule. And next there, it goes even further there. This time we are talking about Apuleius, and this dude there, he was born circa 124 ACE. That's 700 years after the indigenous Africans ruled. Previously there, we are told from, you see, Old Kingdom tomb. We go from Old Kingdom to the time of Herodotus. You understand what I'm saying? So we go around 2000, 2500 BC to 400 BC. That's a big gap. And there we end up 700 years after the indigenous Africans ruled. So take cautions when you see things like that, when you see huge gaps like that. Now, there we have some picture scholarship claiming that Ma'at and Islam are cognate religions. In other words, if one was to copy Islam 3,000 years from now in another geographic location with a different language, a different culture, a different literature, he could give it another name, for example, fictionology, and claim that it is cognate with Islam. Here we are told that the divine statue was provided as a physical form, Ka, and later on it says the cult statue became the Ka, or physical form of the god. And this is not so much a critic either. I'm just surprised because I always thought that Ka was a spirit. And underneath I have some from Alan Gardiner from his book Egyptian Grammar, and you can see it says spirit, soul. Underneath it says again, you have an example there. And the third one as well. It's always mainly spirit and at times even soul. So I don't know how a spirit can be a physical form, but you know, moving right along. Now, Little Homie said, in fact, the black stone is the Kaaba per se. That's the primary Kaaba, the house Kaaba, but its ancient name was Baytullah, house of Allah. So I want you to pay attention. Baytullah, basically you have two words, you have Bayt and Ullah, house of Allah. Well, two words, put that in quotation because I ain't going to go into specifics with the Arabic language. Now look at Bet El. That's a Hebrew. You have Bet, house, and El. This is obviously this dealing with Canaan, or what we call Palestine today. So this takes us back to this one. This video is called Death Blow to Little Homie Scholarship. If you type Afro Style Death Blow, you have the video. Now there you have him on the screen, and he was saying Allah, the Proto-Semitic Allah, was a black god represented by the black bull, and I showed that his so-called Proto-Semitic Allah, which is the Canaanite deity El anywhere, or Canaanite or not, is El, and you can see that he is wearing the Atef crown, which is an Egyptian crown. An Egyptian crown. So on the bottom left you have the picture that's on the screen above. Then you have Osiris. Then you have the same one, the same picture that's above from the face. Then another depiction of Osar, and finally you have another angle of the Canaanite deity El. So I'm just curious, how come the supreme god, the Pro-Semitic Allah, how come he's wearing an Egyptian crown? That really puzzles me. Moving right along. Now there it says the black stone was thought to be a part of the body of a great god, in the form of a black meteorite, a piece of the deity's astral body. So I'm like, it's supposed to be a part of the body of the god, but it's a black meteorite. I don't know how you go from a body of somebody to a meteorite. And we are told that the deity has an astral body. So basically the sky or the space is his body. And this is the same people who says that God is a man. And now we're dealing with the astral body. Very strange to me, but moving right along. There it gets interesting there. It says, it is pertinent to recall that before designating the Kaaba as the Qibla, Muhammad ordered his followers to turn their faces in prayer toward the sacred rock in Jerusalem. So this time we're dealing with Israel. This is where they used to turn to, where they used to do the prayer. Before it was towards the Kaaba. And you can see Israel there, and I touched on that in one of my videos. entitled Abrahamic Believers Worship the Canaanite Deity El. But anyway, there you have the etymology from Hebrew, Israel, he that striveth with God, and you can see that El stands for God. Now, El is the general term for deity in Semitic languages, as well as the name of the chief deity of the West Semites. In the ancient texts from Ras Shamra, ancient Ugarit in Syria, El was described as the tutelar head of the pantheon, husband of Asherah. He's a husband of somebody. He's no longer unique, and father of all the other gods except for Baal. His most common epithet was the bull. And you remember earlier there was the bull on the screen. You understand what I'm saying? When it was supposed to be El, the so-called Proto-Semitic Allah. And also we are told about Ugarit in Syria. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that picture that's on the screen that he claims is the Proto-Semitic Allah, I think that one is in a museum somewhere in Syria, or it was at one point. But anyway, what's for sure is that in Syria, and in particular in Ugarit, you have a lot of statues and objects that deals with El and so many of these so-called Semitic, basically Canaanite, and all this area, all this deity, the Levant and all that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all related, really. Now, just for the record, you heard about somebody called Elijah Muhammad. Well, Elijah means Yahweh is my God. So his name is Yahweh is my God Muhammad. So once again, you're always dealing with El, because some people try to give them some roots that go so long ago in history, and it's very amusing, and that's what we will see as we move along there with this comedy gem from this PhD holding Little Homie. So we went from the sacred rock in Jerusalem to the black stone in Mecca. Islam appears more cognate with Judaism than with Ma'at. Moving right on. Here we have some more picture scholarship, but pay attention to the it's Osir on the left. It's Osiris. Look at the headdress, the crown actually. Remember? That's the same one. That's the Atef crown. So even if you were to disbelieve the pictures that I've put on the screen, and I don't do no picture scholarship, I deal with proper records, but you can see that it is the same crown, the Atef crown. And here that's the same one. And you see the bull there on the left, the bigger picture on the left, right? Moving right along. There, Little Homie says, Adam, the black god, is in the Quran. That's what he said. And he lamented that he didn't have time to get over it, to deal with it basically. So let's see what Elijah Muhammad said about Adam. He said, evil is the nature of Adam's children. Never say that you are from Adam. Adam was the father of sin and disobedience. In the theology of time, he said Adam is not your father. In the fall of America, he said Adam was the first crook. So we have Little Homie who says Adam, the black god, and Elijah Muhammad who said Adam, the first crook. I'll let you appreciate. Moving right along. Now here we are told about some Ma'atic Islam. So I ask once again, where is Judaic Islam, since we deal so much with El? Now he quotes in the Quran, we are told, he said, that's what he says, in the Quran we are told, it is said of Allah, his throne is ever on water. And then you have the depiction of Osir, that's Osiris, and his throne is, somehow it looks like it's on water. So he's doing this usual picture scholarship to make a correlation between Islam and Ma'at. Now first of all, not only this is picture scholarship on steroids, but there you have 4 different translations, and they're all in the past tense. It doesn't say that his throne, talking about Allah, is on water, but it says was. Mushin Khan, his throne was on the water. Sahih International, his throne had been upon water. Pitfall, his throne was upon the water. Yusuf Ali, his throne was over the waters. That's just a little observation, just for the record. Now, in the book of Revelation 22, verse 1, it says, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. So there again, dealing with so-called Ma'atic Islam, I ask, where is Christian Islam? And moving right along, it's going to get very, very interesting now. So we have the what he quoted as Quran 11:7, chapter 11, verse 7, and there this is the translation from Dr. Mushin Khan. So I quote the Quran first, and it is, and it is who has created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and his throne was on the water, that he might try you. Now I'm quoting Sahih, the Hadith Sahih Muslim, book 39, number 6754. Jabir reported, I heard Allah's messenger as saying, the throne of Iblis is upon the ocean, and he sends detachments in order to put people to trial. And I think it's quite interesting because it looks very, very similar, don't you think? Both of their throne is on water, and we are told in the Quran that he might try you, and we are told in Sahih Muslim, but this time talking about Iblis, in order to put people to trial. Now, in another hadith, this time book 29, number 6755, he says, Jabir reported that Allah's messenger said, Iblis places his throne upon water. And we have another one, which is still Sahih Muslim, book 41, number 6992, whereupon Allah's messenger said, you see the throne of Iblis upon the water. And what else do you see? So, with this, dealing with this so-called Ma'arik Islam, where is Iblis Islam? Now, just for the record, in Lilo Homie's comic book, the same one that informs us that the Illuminati was, the founder of the Illuminati was taught by a scientist of the Nation of Islam, in other words, a god of the Nation of Islam, and also that this scientist of the Nation of Islam is a prophet of evil, and his name is Cassandra, even though he's a dude. In the same comic book, Little Homie tells us that Iblis, which name derives from the Greek diabolus, devil, refused to worship this black Adam. And there, in the bottom there, it says diabolus, the Greek devil, who became in Arabic Iblis, refused to worship Adam. So we have an Arabic god with a Greek devil, and I find this interesting, but that's just for the record. So now, this was picture scholarship on steroid, and I just hope that it's going to stop, because it's getting very, very annoying. And there we are. You can see that that's how it breaks down Ma'atik Islam, basically in one sentence. The thread linking the sacred science of ancient Kemet, the Islam of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and the supreme wisdom of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. They already have a hard time making a correlation between Orthodox Islam and their spook history, spook theology, but now they want to put Kemet in the mix. I mean, everybody's free to say what they want. I'm just dealing with it. I don't argue, I state facts. So my name is Shaka Ndugu Kemet. Add this video to your favorites. Share this video on all social networks. Subscribe to my channel. Visit afrostudy.com/English. That's www.afrostyly.com/English. I don't argue, I state facts. If you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem.